what I want to spend money on is outside of the business. I want to spend money on trips with my family that my daughter will never forget for the rest of her life. Why are we fighting so hard for business expenses? Every dollar you spend in the business is a dollar that you could have had personally.
Hello, lovely listeners. Welcome back to the podcast. Say hi, Gina.
Welcome, everyone. Hello.
Hello. All right. So we are on our third episode, but our second part of our series on how to fix your sales on money for the best financial year in 2026. And so on our first episode, we talked about the launch of our app coming up. We are creating a small business money app. You can go to smallbusinessmoneyapp.com to get on the wait list. And then we are kicking off this podcast series to lead up to our Kickstarter launch. And we're also doing a coach-a-thon. And so a coach-a-thon is where Gina and I, for over 8 hours, we don't know when we're going to end it, but for over 8 hours, we are going to be coaching you on the sales and money things you need to have $1 million year, regardless of where you're starting out, from two seasoned millionaires. You could come on hotline style and ask all your questions. And then afterwards, we're going to be kicking off our Kickstarter, where you can invest all the way up from $149 to support our app, all the way to higher packages where you get to come in person with us in San Francisco. So there's so many ways to get involved with this really exciting project that we're doing.
Yay. I'm so excited.
Yes, we're so pumped. So go to smallbusinessmoneyapp.com to get all the information and to get on the wait list for all the details. Okay.
And of course, we'll link it below.
And we'll link it below. Yes. Okay, so in the first episode, Gina interviewed me, and I'm Dielle, for those who don't know.
Oh my God, yeah, that's right. We're on each other's podcast right now.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Gina interviewed me all about sales trends for 2026, and we talked a lot about the pandemic and the 3 sales skills every business owner needs, so make sure to check that out. But if you want to know about the money side, this episode is for you. So let's interview Gina.
Let's talk money, baby.
Okay, so same question, Gina. What do you think is the biggest thing in 2026 that business owners are struggling with financially?
This is going to be maybe surprising or maybe not. I don't know. On the business side of money, it's debt, specifically COVID debt. The COVID debt is due. I'm hearing this nonstop from so many people. It feels like in COVID, which is funny because like your episode around sales was a similar like COVID themed. In COVID, there were really cheap interest rates, like crazy, like historically cheap interest rates. On top of that, there were the PPP loans here in the United States, and Canada also did a similar loan project through the government where the government pumped money into small businesses. Canada has since gone back on some of their terms and said, haha, you guys have to pay us back. So some of my clients have gotten like bills 4 years later being like, oh, that $30,000 forgived loan, we need the money back. So that coupled with increase in interest rates, and then also just like all that stuff coming to a head, it's coming to a head right now. So what I noticed is in 2020, people were a little bit like, yeah, I'll take on debt, whatever. The world is like unpredictable and crazy. I'll take on debt. It's cheap, no problem. And then I feel like 2020 through 2022 was a huge growth phase for a ton of companies where they had a ton of money, but they weren't really prioritizing paying off the debt because it was like, it's still cheap. It's still low interest. I'll just refinance it. I'll just get, a 0% card and like refinance it over there. No problem. And now 6 years later, they're like, okay, so this isn't very cute anymore. Okay, so there's not really good refinancing options anymore. I can't keep kicking it down the line. And on top of that, coupled with, like what we talked about in the last episode with sales skills really needing to be strong right now, it just feels like many, many people are like, I need to pay this debt and I need to pay it off now. So I would say like that's definitely number one on the business side. That's what I'm seeing. Within that, there's also like, I've noticed the businesses that I'm working with are over bloated, meaning they hired too many people. They have too many expenses, but most importantly, they have too many offers. And that's what bloated the expenses. It's like, well, I have to have this person on payroll because they're doing that offer. And I have to have this software for this funnel because otherwise that offer doesn't work. And I'm like, yeah, but overarchingly, you have more revenue streams than you have revenue. Like it's not panning out. So people say to themselves, well, I can't possibly cut expenses because I can't cut that team member because that team member is vital for that revenue stream. And I've been telling people, yeah, you need to cut the whole revenue stream. So there's a lot to unpack there, but that's like really top of mind for 2026.
COVID debt. So how you're describing it is there was an opportunity to get this financing from the government, from multiple different government capacities. People jumped on that opportunity. It's so funny looking back. That wasn't even an option for me.
Me either.
Yeah.
I did not get any of that.
No. Yeah. I know a handful of people within my world that did, but like that was just not a choice, not an option. Yeah. And so what do you think people use, like, why did they do that? And like, have you seen the reason why still not solved now? Or like,
a couple of reasons. So there's an entire group of businesses who did it for survival. And it was like, oh no, your business got shut down. Like restaurants, stores,
nail salons,
practitioners, right? Nail salons, beauty, even like non-essential health, like acupuncture or those kinds of like alternative therapies that aren't through the traditional health services. So a lot of them did it to survive. I have an expensive lease to pay. The government has shut me down. I have to pay the lease. I have to pay my people. So that is what I call keep the lights on debt, right? It's like, I got no other choice. I have to keep the lights on. Keep the lights on debt is the worst kind of debt. It sucks because it doesn't ever create a return on investment. It just creates a bill that you will have to pay. And the longer you wait to pay it, the more expensive the bill gets. So it's really insidious. And I completely understand why a lot of businesses went into that kind of debt. The other group of people, it was the opportunity. It was less the PPP loans and like the government loans, and it was more readily available credit on credit cards, PayPal credit giving you 0%, a lot of 0% APR interest rates, and using it to grow. But a lot of the times, and this just happens regardless, but I think it happened a lot during the pandemic, they weren't spent on the right things, meaning the businesses didn't actually solve the current problems that they had. It was a lot of, we all remember 2020 on the internet. It was a lot of hype. It was a lot of level up your identity. It was a lot of like hope core and urgency and FOMO and identity. And a lot of that stuff, it's like fun. And I think we needed fun at that time. I want to be clear. Like, I don't by any means want to shame anyone for having the fun that they had. But I think that like when we step back, it's like, well, did you actually learn the skills that you needed? Or did you just have fun in a community? And that goes back to your episode, right? Where there's just fundamental skills that we all need. And I think that a lot of times that investment back then didn't actually teach or solve those core skills.
Fascinating. And with that, you talk so much within your work about solving current problems. Can you riff on that?
Yeah. So I believe that there's 5 types of universal business expenses, regardless of your industry: current problem expenses, future problem expenses, identity expenses, boredom expenses, and people-pleasing expenses. So no matter what you do, what you sell, who you are, we fall into that. And the only one we should be doing is current problems. So that is, think of it like a bottleneck. There's something in your business that needs to be solved. And the minute you solve it, you will make more money. So think about it this way. Okay, Gina, I'm a massage therapist and I have a wait list for 3 months. I have people beating down my door wanting a massage, but I'm booked out. Okay, your problem is capacity. You need to increase capacity. You can do that by hiring and training another massage therapist. You can do that by working more hours, or you can do that by increasing your rate substantially and getting people off your wait list. That is a current problem. If you solved it today, you would make more money today. A future problem is, hey, Gina, I'm a massage therapist and I'm not fully booked out yet, but I really want to be. So I'm going to up level by leasing a bigger space For what demand? You don't have the demand for a bigger space. You just think if you get a bigger space, you'll somehow make your identity make you more money, but you don't actually have the demand. So that will not make you more money right now. It's a future problem. And you are solving it now because you're probably avoiding the real problem of whatever is happening.
I think this is really interesting. I would say a lot of people would say, and I'm curious how you would decipher this, well, yeah, I just need more clients. If someone has that thought, how do they decipher and figure out, okay, well, then what's the problem that's stopping me needing more clients?
Yeah. There's two types of sales problems, only two: leads or conversions. If you have both problems, start with conversions. It's easier. You're already having the people that you're not converting, so convert them. If you already have conversion down, meaning like in Dielle's world, you're closing 100% of qualified sales calls, then you want to go and solve leads. Now, let's start with the conversion problem. Okay, Gina, I have a conversion problem. I have 100,000 followers on TikTok, but my coaching is not fully booked. What could be the problem? Well, now I'm just going to ask you that. Use your brain and sit for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what are my best guesses for where I'm missing the mark? And I want you to get specific. I want you to think about literal steps in the customer's journey to buying something from you. Where are they falling off? So let's say I have content on the internet. Let's say I'm a coach. I have content on the internet. I have a CTA, book a sales call. I have some pre-qualifying questions on the sales call application. I have the sales call, and then I have a follow-up email. Okay, where are you losing them? Wherever you're losing them, identify that point and then ask yourself, how might I make that better? And then run a test. It's really like the scientific method. It's not some big mystery. It's just somewhere along the step, you're losing people and you need to change something to try and get a better outcome. And if you don't get a better outcome within a reasonable amount of time, you need to try something else, not abandon the entire thing. Because generally speaking, like, it might take you a couple tries to get it right.
I love how all your answers are so simple. And so I want everyone to listen to how direct that was. And then to this point about expenses, when the answer is simple, then the expense is simple and the spending is simple. I have found, even with myself, that if I make it out to be this big, giant thing, then that's what will drive the spending and expenses. But if you make the problem so small and also so achievable, Gina really helps me with this, you're like, wait a minute, I don't even need to spend money to fix this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's like, oh, I need to change the questions on my intake form. That's free, people, versus my conversion is messed up and I need to hire a consultant to build me a $10,000 funnel. Like, whoa, we escalated way too quickly here. Mm-hmm. And to this point, you can test a lot of things for free. You can test a lot of things cheaply. And once you go through that and you get all that data, if you do need to have a bigger intervention, you will have tested so many things that you're more likely to hire the right person or do the right intervention at a higher cost versus going in blind for a high cost intervention with no data to back you up.
I think that's really important when it comes to spending money on hires, either consultants and coaching or like team members. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I just have learned over and over and over again is the team member you have to know how to do the job. Like, you have to know how to do the job forwards and backwards and upside down, simply because if you don't, you won't hire appropriately and then you just won't get that ROI.
And you won't fire fast enough. And you'll be anxious that they will quit and you won't know how to do their job. And a whole other slew of issues.
I was working with a client, and she has her own coaching business. And she was like, a lot of my clients are asking about this one thing that I don't coach on. And I was like, okay, well, then you need to learn. And she was like, no, I don't have time. I'm thinking we're just going to hire someone. She didn't listen. So she hired this person to teach her clients this other skill. And so then they will hop on the calls, they'd be like, and talking about this skill, and she wouldn't know. And then the other person was like, okay, I'm thinking about leaving. And she was freaked out because she sold this. And it was a disaster. It was a mess. And not only did it create financial, like unnecessary financial stress on her, but also to that point, that anxiety of, oh, I don't know how to do something. It's such an empowering feeling as a business owner, being like, I can do it all.
Such an empowering feeling. And also, I can do it at all. And I've already made it as efficient as it possibly could be.
Mm-mm.
So I see this a lot with like EAs or VAs, administrative people. I'll get people who are like, I'm so burnt out and I have no money and I have a ton of debt and I can't possibly let my EA go, even though they're costing me $1,000 a month that I can't afford. And I'm like, well, why can't you let your EA go? And they're like, because I can't take on those tasks on my plate. And I'm like, well, are the tasks as efficient as they already could be? Or did you hire somebody to do a job inefficiently
Mm.
because you didn't create the system and the process first because you were overwhelmed? And typically, I always say, like, you should never slap a body into your business and just be like, you fix it. First of all, have you ever worked at a company like that? It's awful. No one wants to work for you when you're like that. It's not fun for them. It's not fun for you. It's inefficient and you're spending way too much money on payroll. And the funny thing is, especially with like that specific scenario, I can't let my EA go because I'll be so overwhelmed. I ask them, how many hours a week are you working? And they'll go like, well, like 30. And I'm like, you can take the 5 hours. And it's often it's not actually about the time. It's about the thoughts. It's about the feelings. It's about something else. And you're bleeding money in your business because you're unwilling to confront something. And that something, that's the current problem in your business. That's what you should spend money solving.
I wonder if we can even say, like, everyone should be fireable on your staff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Not from like a
exactly.
capitalistic whatever's perspective, but from the perspective that like you should never be held hostage by someone on your team.
Yeah. Yeah. And you should, number one, be able to do that position. Number two, get an ROI from that work and do it efficiently. But to this point, you're over here trying to grow, but you don't need them to survive. And when you don't need them to survive, they also aren't dependent, on you if they leave. And so I think just with detachment within your expenses, I think is really important. I remember to that point, I remember being that person where I hired the social media manager. I was like, you need to help me go viral. And obviously and I didn't know how to do it. So obviously from that place, we were having very difficult conversations and it wasn't going anywhere. And the moment I let her go and I decided to do it myself, I started going viral like crazy on TikTok. And it would blow my mind. I was like, I was able to do this with the whole time, a 10-minute segment with myself, was able to create a viral video. You also just blow your own mind and you feel so empowered. I also feel that way with like running my own ads. I'm like, oh, I was spending so much money on an ads manager, I can do it myself. It's a few clicks. And so I think that's just really powerful.
So powerful. I've done the same thing, by the way. Every time I've gone to hire a coach or a team member and I've had the thought, ugh, I just want someone else to do this for me, I lose money every single freaking time.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm doing is I'm saying, I don't like the discomfort of not knowing how to solve this problem. So instead of taking responsibility for that discomfort, I'm going to outsource it to somebody else. And they are never successful. I made a post about this actually recently, and I got some DMs from service providers, and they were like, I charge extra on a sales call when I sense that the client is that way.
Wow.
Because they're the worst clients and they always end in dispute. They always end in refunds. They always end in unhappiness. And they're like, we hate those types of clients. Because think about it. A frazzled business owner is like, fix me, hurry, hurry, hurry. And then you're like, I don't even know what you mean. And it's just a mess. So it's not good for anyone. Nobody enjoys it. And you're wasting, and I mean, like, payroll is the number one expense for small business owners in America. You're wasting a ton of money on nothing.
I love this. And it also connects to like you're wasting money, what you were saying about cutting revenue streams. And like maybe even cutting marketing channels or cutting different things that are just not bringing in the ROI. I remember when you were like, do you need a YouTube channel? And I paused it for a year and I was like, oh, turns out I did it, right? Like, turns out I did it. And now I'm bringing it back in, but a lot more efficiently. And I'm like, I'm doing everything myself at home. Like I'm really trimming it down. So I'm curious, how do we know like what to cut, what to keep, and what that whole equation should be?
Okay. I have a framework, but it's not a nice acronym like yours. It's 2x2. So, like, imagine 4 quadrants. Okay. The horizontal axis is low revenue to high revenue. The vertical axis is low cost or effort, high cost or effort. Okay. So, if it's high cost or effort and high revenue, I call that expensive revenue. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of money, but you make a lot of money in return. But once you subtract those two things, you didn't actually make a lot of money. So you might make $30,000 a month, but the profit is $2,000. So like think about all this busy work you're creating for $2,000. But business owners are attached to their expensive revenue because they see that $30,000 and they're like, I don't want to let that go. That's number one. Quadrant number 2, high revenue, low effort or cost. That is your core business. Your only job is to protect the hell out of that and grow it. Then we have low revenue, low effort or cost. That's an opportunity. That's like a little, maybe that's something right there. Then we have low revenue, high effort or cost. That's a time suck. Don't just delete it. delete. So oftentimes what I'm seeing is my recommendation is 90% of your time should be on core business, 10% on opportunities. That's it. A lot of times I see like 20% of time on core business and the rest of the time somewhere else. That's the problem. Now, with expensive revenue, what you want to do is first ask yourself, can I make this more efficient? Can I lean out my costs? Can I automate portions of the delivery of this? Can I negotiate with vendors? Whatever it is that's making it so expensive in your time or your effort or your money, can I make it less expensive? If the answer is yes, do that, because you could push it down into core business. If the answer is it's already as efficient and cheap as it can be, then you need to increase costs or increase price.
Price, right.
And a lot of people are like, I'm not willing to do that. Well, and then my answer is, okay, then cut that entire revenue stream. Focus on your core business. Time sucks. We just want to cut entirely. Opportunities is where people it's like slap happy. This is the problem area because people will take an opportunity and they will overnight like triple the investment. They'll put 30 hours a week into an opportunity, or they'll spend 6 weeks planning and launching an opportunity that's never been proven while ignoring their core business. And what happens is opportunities go up instead of going to the side. Instead of increasing in revenue, they just increase in time and costs and stay low revenue. We want to take our opportunities and inch them to the right. We want to push them towards higher and higher revenue while maintaining costs. And that's why I say, like, there's definitely, we want to be experimenting. We want to be trying new things. We want to be, scanning what are the opportunities in our industry, but you don't want to dump all your eggs into that before you've proven anything. And so, yeah, I see a lot of businesses, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier with the going broad. A lot of businesses got a nugget of core business in 2020. And then instead of doubling down on that core business, they just added more and more revenue streams, and it went outside of the core business quadrant. So yeah, that's how I think about it. It's actually really, really obvious once you map it out. It like removes the emotion.
Which is, I think, again, what we were talking about earlier, where in money, business, finance specifically, can we remove the emotion? Yeah.
It's just data.
What does the quadrant look like for you? Like, what's your quadrant?
Okay. My quadrant is Small Business Money School. That baby is core business. 7-figure wealth is also core business, but it's a little less profitable from the time perspective. but a little more profitable from the money perspective. It's interesting. It's like, what are we chasing time or are we chasing money? Because I run ads for Small Business Money School, that increases the costs a bit, but still very profitable. So I would even just like put both of those into my core business bucket with a little bit of variation depending on if we're tracking time or money. The advisory, which is my agency, that baby's a little opportunity. That's still a little itty bitty opportunity. We have 3 clients as of this recording. So, and I'm treating it as an opportunity. I have hired one additional person because we needed a bookkeeper, but I'm paying her on an hourly basis so that it doesn't become, over extended. And we're seeing, and if it continues to work, we'll push it over. But it's very much like the opportunity I'm testing right now. And then of course the app is a whole separate business. So that's outside of this quadrant entirely. I view this on a per business basis.
I think for me, I would say my 2 core offers are my core business. I would say my opportunity has been these brand partnerships that have come my way.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I feel the urge to be like, oh, I want a manager, because it is
increase costs.
Exactly. And also cut, like they'll cut 20%, 30% of everything I get. So also a significant portion of my revenue. But these emails are killing me with these brands. It's so many emails going back and forth. And I'm like,
we're not used to that anymore, Dielle.
No, we're not. I'm like, inbox. Oh my God. Oh. And so I'm like at 7:00 at night, once I'm like, oh, I'm remembering, I'm like, I gotta go respond to those brand pitches. Right. And so, and I see my brain being like, oh, we should just hire like a partnerships VA or somebody to manage these. And then it's interesting. I'm thinking about a few things to this point on it's an opportunity. I think a way you can think about opportunities is to the conversation we were having earlier, like Dielle, if you hire someone, it still won't, you'll still have to manage that person because it's so new, because it's an opportunity.
You don't know how to do it yet.
You don't know how to do it. So it's like, no, you need to be in there and figure out, okay, here are the common questions. You, going back to efficiency, put together a PDF guide that you can send out to all these brands, knowing all the conversations you're having and all the questions that they're asking, where you can make it efficient first before you outsource. And then to this point, at the end of the year, you may decide to not even do this. So
exactly. It's an opportunity, not just in cost and money, but also it's like, do I like this as the business owner? That's a whole other layer on top of this. It's like, that's how I think about the advisory too. I'm like, we're going to play, we're going to see. Maybe I don't like it and we won't do it after 6 months.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll love it and it'll become the core business.
And then we'll scale it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you need that data. You need that information before going all in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we started off talking about debt, and then we talked about the reasons how people get into debt. Now I want to talk about, how does one pay off debt? What is your signature process of paying off debt?
Well, I'll tell you my process, but first I'm going to tell you the philosophy. And I think it kind of really lends itself to the conversation we've been having. The complexity has a price. It has a big price. So, Dielle and I have like 3 little offers. I'm speaking with businesses that have potentially hundreds of SKUs, or they're like a salon owner who does hair and scalp massages and treatments and has 20 different products they're selling. Simplify. I'll give you an example with the hairstylist. She does haircuts. One of my hairstylists does haircuts, but she recently bought one of those machines that does the waterfall and like the massage. I want one so bad. That sounds so relaxing. And she has this clientele that's like struggling with different hair issues, like hair loss, dandruff, different kind of like medical adjacent hair issues. And she had over 50 products that she was selling. And I was like, okay, go into your little like Shopify. I want to know the top 10 products. And then I want you to only reorder the top 5. And she went, 5? And I'm like, yeah, you're one person in a suite with 50 SKUs on the shelf. And you already know your ideal client, which is a person with like dandruff or thinning hair or whatever. So you're already going to know what they need. Just keep the 5. It'll be easier to sell. You will stop ordering inventory that sits on the shelf for months. And then, by the way, we did a whole calendar thing. And I was like, you need to put 80% of your calendar time towards these massages and only 20% towards haircuts based on the profitability. And she's like, but my clients who've been coming to me for years, they love the haircuts and I need to I'm like, that's people pleasing. That's people pleasing. I know they're going to be sad. It's okay. Your business is going in a new direction. And so I say this to say, simplify. Your profit is falling to the wayside in the complexity. Now, in terms of my actual process, it's just 4 steps. It's real easy. Know your numbers. You gotta know the numbers. And when I say know your numbers, I mean, how much money are you making from each offer every month? How much money are you spending on all the different categories? What is your estimated tax liability? And how much do you have in tax savings and how much more needs to be saved? What are your debt minimum payments? What are you paying yourself, right? Like there's actually quite a few numbers you should know. And it's not to say that until you know these numbers, you can't move on, but it is to say, you're going to go kicking and screaming. You're going to say, Gina, I don't care about the numbers. I just have to pay my debt minimum payments. I'm going to force you to know your numbers anyways. And the minute you go into the spreadsheet, you're going to come out with like 20 aha moments that I didn't even have to coach you on. You should see my wins channel. It's full of people who are like, I cut $4,000 a year of expenses, and now that turns into X amount of money into my debt every month. And that means that my debt payoff date went from 2037 to 2027. I'm like, the little things matter a lot. Know your numbers. Number 2, control expenses. So cut all those little things. I call them little raindrops, right? Raindrops make oceans. Cut the $12.99 Canva that you never use. You don't need it. And you may say it's only $12.99. I can afford it. I'm like, well, can you actually though? I don't think so. Cut it. I'm ruthless. Cut the revenue streams that are underperforming and all the associated costs. And then we go into the actual debt payoff itself. Gina has one rule for paying off debt. You have to make a plan based on your current revenue, not based on future fantasy revenue. Stop saying, I'll pay it off when I launch. That's future fantasy revenue. Stop saying, I'll pay it off when my funnel starts working. I'll pay it off when I hire that new team member and we bring in more. No, what's the current revenue? And that is what we have to play with, because when you do that, it may look a little shitty. It may look like a 2040 debt payoff date, but that gives us a starting point. And then every little micro adjustment you make lowers your debt payoff date by months, if not years. The goal is to shave a month off at a time. And then what happens is my clients get so much momentum. They get so excited because it's like, oh, now I have a real plan on paper that works, whether I have a standout launch or not, that works, whether I grow my business or not. And now I know every time I cut a $12.99 expense and put it as an extra debt payment, that shaves off 2 months of my date. And now I know every new client I get and I funnel it as extra debt payments shaves off 6 months. They get addicted to it. It's like a game.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they are debt free and they have they're even like, how did I pay it off so fast? I'm like, because you went through the process. And then finally at the end, then we talk about increasing profit. So selling more, simplifying your offer suite and growing. Because at that point, you're not trying to sell more to save yourself. You're trying to sell more because you can.
Which is an amazing feeling.
It's incredible. Mm-hmm. It kind of brings the magic back into the business. You make a sale, and instead of feeling like, oh my God, okay, I'm proud of myself, but I need to make 10 more. Instead of feeling that, you're like, I made a sale and it's amazing. I'm so proud. It's so exciting. Mm-hmm. I feel that way about my funnel. You know, my funnel for my small business money school is my cheapest offer. And yet every time I make a sale, I'm like, oh, it's so exciting. I'm like a kid again. I'm jumping around my room. I tell my husband every time I make a sale on my cheapest offer because it has that joy.
And it's all about, can you see the progress you're making? Yeah. Can you see that and can you feel it? And can you believe, okay, I made a sale and I'm actually going to see that money. Like it's actually going to put a dent into my financial goals. It's not just going to go to the wayside on something that I don't want it to go to. So that's amazing.
When your business is debt free and you're caught up on taxes, every additional sale equals an owner's bonus. And that feels so, I've been on my owner's bonus game this year. It feels so good to know my base salary is covered by the business, no matter what. But every time I go over the amount I need in the business, that's just profit for me. I give myself a $10,000 bonus today, and I gave myself a $4,000 bonus on Friday. And it's like, now I can take that money and use it on my retirement, use it, I'm moving across the country, use it for my move. I could use it to send my kid to private school. I can use it for, you know, me, all my Schiaparelli purchases, a girl's trip, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, now I like the business is literally, it's the dopamine hits. It's like the business is funding all of my like inner child desires because I got it dialed in. So it's not a punishment. It's for you.
Yeah. And I think it's what we were talking about earlier, where small business owners, we have this relationship with our business where it's not just a salary and our salary is fixed. It's like, oh no, if the business grows, if we clean up the money, we'll see that. We'll definitely see that. I've seen that in my life. Like I think about this house. I think about the trips that I go on. I think about so many experiences that I've been able to create for my family directly related off of my business success and having clean numbers. Okay. There are two concepts I want to talk about. One, you know, and then one I've named for you. So I want you to talk about raindrops make oceans. And
Yes.
I struggled with this, and your video in Small Business Money School really helped me with this when you redid the curriculum last year. And it's this, I'm going to talk about it as if you're not here. And it's this concept of, you know, those small $12.99 Canva purchases, the small little subscriptions where you're like, is it worth my time to sift through, find, cancel, what is this going to do energy or thought? And something you said was, it's not the amount, it's the act of it. It's the act of you looking at your numbers. It's the act of you making the decision to cut things or be efficient. It's that identity even, or that process or the efficiency of doing that with your business. And you didn't say this in the video, but my thought was, yeah, if you don't know how to do it for a $12.99 purchase, how will you do it for a $1,200 purchase that needs to be cut? Like, it's more just kind of like the practice of it. It's kind of like, okay, if you don't know how to ride a bike on a dirt road, how will you do it on a mountain, right? And so I think that was a really interesting take.
That's such a good point. It's like the practice for the big ones.
Yeah.
And there's a reason too in the curriculum, I put it before the big ones. I'm like, here's a little like baby step. Here's your little baby step. And in the curriculum, I even like, I had one where I was like, okay, you guys are going to sit here with me and we're going to cancel something of mine. It was a little longer than intended because I had to email customer support. And I hate admin work, but I'm like, this is worth my time. I think there's something too about, it kind of mixes in with CEO zone of genius. And it's like, it's not worth my time. My time is higher leverage. And I'm like, if you can't be bothered to fix this, how, to that point, how are you going to be bothered to fix the big things? If you can't even do the easy thing where all you have to do is press a button, like, come on. And I always, the cookie that I give my clients in the curriculum is I always multiply it by 12. So I do the annual cost, not the monthly cost. So what is that? $12.99 for Canva Pro, $155.88 a year. Not a ton of money, right? You know what I see when I see that? I'm like, oh, that's a nice dinner out. I could go to dinner with my husband and have a really nice date, or I could keep paying for Canva Pro and not use it. I'd rather have the date, right? Like I always like find the thing that it is for you. For me, it's a dinner out. What is that like thing? Maybe it's, I don't know, books. A lot of people love reading books or buying a ton of books. For journals. We love the journals. What's that little thing? And whether you buy it or not is not the point. It's more to show you that it is worth it.
Yeah. And it's just about who you are. And it's like, oh no, I'm a person that watches my numbers. And I watch my expenses and I care and I tend to how my business is spending money. I work so hard to get the sale and I want something out of it. And this is the process on how to do it. Amazing. Okay. And then the last concept, I'm curious what you're going to think about this because this is totally my name of it, but I call it cheap extravaganza. Cheap extra, and you don't even use the word cheap. I'm using it for drama's sake.
I love it.
So something that I've learned from you when it comes to money is you can have what you want, but it doesn't have to cost what you think it costs. And so the example that you shared on your podcast and the example I've been telling a lot of my clients is I wanted to redo my office. And I had an interior designer do my whole downstairs when I moved into my house several years ago. And it was a great investment because for several different reasons. I got a great deal on the furniture. It was a great investment. So we paid like 25 grand to get my whole downstairs, and it was top to bottom, the couch, everything, the paint, the light fixtures, everything. Again, I think it was a great investment for multiple rooms. And so we ended up wanting to do my office. So for one room, again, my whole downstairs versus my one room, 14K. And I was like, this seems off. I was like, this seems off. And I was about to pay for it. And I was like, I really like the work that they did last year to this point.
It was the same people.
It was the same people. Yeah. I don't know what happened. Yeah. I'm like,
maybe their demand went up.
Or
maybe their efficiency went down.
Yeah. I mean, they did have more team members. They had a lot more team members because I was like talking to several different people before I ended up talking to the designer. And it was like about 4 years. So a lot happened. I'm sure a lot happened. And I remember paying for it to this point. I was like, I'm tired. I don't want to be searching for wallpaper colors. I was like, oh. And then I was talking to you and you were like, well, what do you actually need? I was like, well, I have black walls in my office and I just rebranded to this orchid pink color. So I'm like, I need like different walls. And you were like, well, just go get the wallpaper. And then like that shifted something in my head where I was like, oh, I think I could actually do this. So I ended up getting everything I needed for my office for $1,500.
Instead of 14.
And I've taken this philosophy now everywhere where I'm like, where can I still have what I want? Because I think when it comes to like cutting expenses and decreasing expenses, we think, oh, well, we're just not going to get the thing, right? To this point,
it's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing. And to this point, okay, well, I have to fire the assistant. I have to delete the software. I'm just not going to have it. And in the past conversations, like, yeah, because there wasn't a use for it. There wasn't a purpose for it. It wasn't efficient. But if it is something that matters to you, that aligns with your goals, that aligns with your values, something that quote unquote has to get done, where can you just find a way to do it cheaper?
Yes. I'll give an example from my business. Active Campaign. I have like 10,000 plus people on my email list now because of my webinar funnel. And I was using Active Campaign because that's what the coach who I was following her process used. And I'm like, okay, I'll just follow what she uses. That's fine. The last month of my Active Campaign, I spent over $1,000 just for my email list. I'm like, that's ridiculous. That is 5 figures a year. Absolutely not. So I asked my OBM to look at other options and find me, comparisons for price. And we ended up going with Kit because it was going to be like $200 a month. And we were going to lose a little bit of functionality, but I'm like, we can make up for it. And I'll be honest, it was a pain in the butt. We had to they have different systems. Active Campaign uses lists and Kit uses tags and whatever it was. And my OBM probably begrudgingly was like, whatever, but we got it done. And now we're spending $2,400 instead of $12,000 a year for the basic same functionality. So I'm like, yeah, it's worth the effort. It is worth the effort.
I think that's so important. And just for anybody who has like spending trauma or like, oh no, I had to penny pinch my whole entire life. Like, when am I going to live abundantly? So that's why I came up with cheap extravaganza. And to this point too, like even personally, like I love to do big lavish trips. I did a really big lavish trip for my 30th birthday. I did a beach house trip where I invited a lot of my family over for a beach house. And this year I was like, oh, I want to do something big. But what if I applied this concept to cheap extravaganza? So I said, okay, well, what's extravagant? I was like, I love spas. Spas are like my favorite. So I said, okay, I'm from Baltimore. I'm like, Baltimore is not that expensive. I was like, I'm sure I could like find a really nice spa. So I was like, let me start at the top and then work my way down. I called a Four Seasons in Baltimore. And I was like, what would it look like to buy out the spa? So again, I'm starting pretty high. And then I was like, okay, I wanted to work my way down. And they're like, oh, $2,500. And I was like, and everybody will get a service? They're like, yeah, everyone will get a service. And I said, we'll have it for like 4 hours. So like, yeah, we'll give you chocolate covered strawberries and like a lounge. And
done.
I was like, done. I spent $15,000 on the beach house. So now I'm going to be able to pay for 15 of my family members to spend the day at the Four Seasons. And I'm like, I have money. Let's go to the steakhouse upstairs afterwards. Right? I'm like, and I'm still way under budget. So that's just been like, okay, the thing that you actually want can come in lots of different ways. It doesn't have to come in that one way that you see it.
The other thing too is like what I want to spend money on is outside of the business. I want to spend money on, like, you want to spend money on this amazing experience with your family members. I want to spend money on Schiaparelli. I want to spend money on trips with my family that my daughter will never forget for the rest of her life. I'm not like, why are we fighting so hard for business expenses that you don't even like? I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but like, do you really care about Airtable that much? Do you really? Is that like, that's really the thing you want to spend 12K on this year? Come on. Like, I think we also need to put it into perspective that like every dollar you spend in the business is a dollar that you could have had personally.
I love it.
Is that true? Do we believe? I think so.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I want to be a little stingy, not from the perspective of like underpaying people or like being cheap to make complicated. No, it's interesting too. Oh, this is interesting. Because I'm so stingy in the business, I actually can pay my team so well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I pay my team sales bonuses. I pay my team like, I think the lowest paid person makes like 5x the minimum wage or something. And that's like an hourly, very, 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 very part-time role. And so it's like, yeah, I'm stingy on everything else because I want to pay my team well because they do good work. And then I want to pay me well because I did all this work to build this company. I don't want to fight for paying active campaign. I don't want to fight for staying in a membership that I logged into once and like I paid for 3 months in a row and like I feel bad. I'm not going to fight for those things. Why are we fighting for those things?
Priorities. We need to focus on our priorities. And I think a lot going back to like the spending problems, people pleasing, right? And then also old patterns of, am I cheap or stingy for doing this? To that point, I felt awful. We got to the last stage of the design process.
I remember.
Yeah, I was like, they keep calling me, wondering why I'm not paying the invoice. I have to tell them I'm backing out. Like that brings up a lot. But to this point, and I wouldn't have the language if it wasn't for you, Gina. I was like, oh, this is all people pleasing. Like it's all relationships. Or I remember it's like, okay, I want to cancel this gym membership. Does that mean that I'm not serious about my goals? We make like canceling things mean so many things that it isn't.
It's like a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Huge. And I get to like going back to, I would rather have the money personally. I think a lot of business owners get trapped in, I also want to have a lot of money personally, but if I cancel this thing, I'll make less money in the business and then I'll have less money to pay me personally. And I'm like, that's actually the trap.
Mm.
For some things that's true. Just don't cancel those things.
Right.
Keep spending money on the things that are making you money, but for everything that's wasting your money, stop. I mean, maybe that sounds a little flippant, but I'm like, but it is that simple. It's just emotionally complex.
Right. Money is emotional.
So emotional. Yeah. And it's funny because like money is not emotional. We are emotional about money.
Yes.
Money is actually
emotional.
addition and subtraction. Yeah. Money doesn't care about your emotions.
Fascinating. Is there anything else about 2026 you want to add?
I think this is the big one for 2026. I want 2027. You know me. I love owner's pay, Dielle. I want 2027 to be a big owner's pay year for my businesses. I want some big raises. I want some big bonuses. I want some compensation structures in place. But I'm like, but this stuff needs to get taken care of in order for that to happen.
Amazing. Well,
anything else from you?
No, this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Gina. And for everyone listening, make sure to go to our waitlist, smallbusinessmoneyapp.com, to make sure to sign up for the waitlist. You'll learn about our Kickstarter. You'll learn about our 8-hour plus coach-a-thon that we're doing on June 1st. We're super, super excited, and we will see you in the next episode.
Take it easy, everyone. Bye.